Hello and welcome to this video course, Collaborative Content. Now in this course, we are going to be discussing the fast start to create authoritative content, or the kind of content that people are looking to in order to make decisions and change their lives. And collaborating with influencers is a great way to get people to your site or your web presence to give them what they're seeking. They're looking for information in order to do better at something, or in order to improve something, or to correct something. Collaborative content can be any kind of work that you're doing with someone else to create information. So, collaborative content could be an interview. It could be an online summit where you've got several people who are talking about a specific topic. It could be an offline summit, so where you take that same concept and you have a stage and you have an auditorium and you have a round table. You are bringing people together, experts, in order to talk about a topic, and you're bringing an audience to put before them in order to solve a problem or to discuss solutions. You can do it in the form of a seminar, whether or not that is offline or online. Online, we tend to call those seminars webinars. Offline, we call them seminars or classes or workshops. Anytime that you bring people together and you are bringing them together in order to discuss a topic that's going to affect people and help them, you are creating collaborative content. Now, being consistent in creating collaborative content, products, and publications is probably the fastest way to build authority from scratch. Lots of people want to be able to write blogs or write books. Typically, though, they don't start with an audience. And so one of the things that collaborative content does is it gives you an audience almost from the beginning. And what this leads to ultimately is having the kind of brand that people seek out because of the value you offer, and the value you're really bringing are those experts that you're able to put together and to put before people to give them the information that they're seeking. We want to discuss why we want to create collaborative and authoritative content. We want to do it because we want to build a unique and unstoppable brand. Now, probably one of the first things that you and I have to do before we can build that kind of unstoppable brand, or the kind of brand that attracts the right customers to us, we first got to decide on a market or a niche or a path or a product. It can be all of those things, or it can be one specific thing, because we have to apply some principles to what it is that we are going to be marketing. We want to focus our attention, especially those of us who are marketing information, on getting results. So in other words, we are going to be marketing information, but we are going to lead with our results. We're going to lead by talking about the result that people can expect based on the fact that we've been able to get those results and to replicate those results. And indeed, when we're replicating those results, we are slowly becoming an expert. We are getting reliable results in the area in which we choose to market. Once we start replicating our results and we're becoming an expert, we will then start to test our own theories and get our own conclusions. We will then become a leader in the marketplace, because we aren't just following the path. We're not just getting results according to the specific directions that everyone's following. We are starting to chart our own course. We are starting to get results based on our own observations about the market or about wherever it is that we are serving. We then start sharing our theories. We start sharing our results and sharing our conclusions with others, because our results are important enough for us to get into the hands of people who really need them. So we are really then starting to influence the market, because we've got our own tests, we've got our own results, and now we're starting to share that with other people. We are starting to take the market in an area in which maybe it was not ready to go, or maybe it couldn't go there because we had not arrived there with our unique way of looking at particular problems. When that happens, we then start to build a tribe of people who believe in what we're doing. They've seen our results, They hear our theories, and they are then ready to start listening to other things that we have to say. They are starting to look for the things that we are saying. And once we begin to have that kind of following, that kind of tribe, our tribe expects for us to start sharing, to start publishing, and even to begin to start coaching one-on-one to get those same results. This is how you begin to build up, as an information marketer, an unstoppable and bulletproof brand. You may be asking, now, how does all of this relate to collaborative content? Well, we're going to start this process by collaborating with people that have influence in our industry. This has been popularized by people like Kevin Harrington, who was the founder of Shark Tank, Russell Brunson, who calls this concept the Dream 100, Eben Pagan, who calls this his influence list. And you'll hear this from a number of information marketers who have achieved success. And this has come long before, in some cases, before information marketing became such a staple of the internet. This influence list, or Dream 100, or this influencer pool, it's a list of those people that have the power to put us before our target audience. And we're going to do it with them because we're going to make it so that it's in their best interest to do so. And when we do that, we're actually going to be working with people who already have authority. That's how we're going to build up fast from scratch. Now, for purposes of this course, we're going to call this influence pool, or Dream 100, we're going to call it our short list. The short list of people that we are going to focus on in order to collaborate with our content. The short list are the people inside of your market who are talking to your target customer. They are bloggers. So these are the bloggers that your target customer is reading. The other podcasters. These are the people that your target customer, they're listening to on the web. They are reporters in newspapers, both local and national. These are the people that, if your target audience reads the newspaper, they're reading these people in the newspaper. They're in magazines and publications, whether they're on the web or they're in physical copies. Your target audience is reading these magazines, so you want to start targeting these magazines. They could be professors at a local college or at a college that is well known. They have information marketing email lists. They are information product creators. They are the people who hold the events in our niche. They're the people who sponsor the events in our niche. They're the people who are influencing opinions and influencing trends in our niche. And basically, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be collaborating with our content and connecting with them. We'll be talking about what that's going to look like, but this is what your short list is going to be. And one of the things that you can be doing at this point in the course is writing down the people that are inside of your niche who have the attention of your target audience who are in these pools. Now, this is not a complete list. You might find that your particular niche has other pools of your target customer. You want to be able to reach out to those people and collaborate with them. So feel free to add to that short list. The easiest way to collaborate with them is first to be Googleable. That means then you are going to need to have your own content and you're going to need to be saying something about your subject matter. Then you're going to find a way to interview, and we're using the word interview in a broad sense. That is basically our way of saying collaboration in our content. We'll talk more about specifics about those ways as we get into the course. But an interview gives that person more exposure. And so that is going to be your attitude as you approach these collaborators. You are going to be giving them more exposure. And of course, they are going to be giving you almost indirectly traffic to whatever it is that you're doing with their following. we're going to be discussing ways for you to do your collaborative content. Now, obviously, we have termed in a broad sense that you are going to be interviewing or you're going to be creating content with someone and you're going to be guiding the process. We're calling this interviews, but there are a number of ways to do this, which we will talk about in another video. But how do you capture the conversation? How do you capture the collaboration? How do you get it to a point where it's usable, whether or not you're going to sell it or use it as content on your website? Well, one way to do that is to have your interview on terrestrial radio. So you can have your conversation with one or many people on a traditional radio show. Now, this is obviously not going to be for everyone, and it's going to be more difficult for others. But for some who have a radio or who have access to a local radio station, terrestrial radio is still a great way of reaching people and of having a captive audience. There is also the audio podcast, and this is very popular among people who are web savvy, and they like to listen to content. They like to listen to their favorite content in a particular subject matter, and they like to download it and get regular episodes. You can have an interview on your website, whether or not you have audio or you have video or you have the text, and you can actually place it on your website. You can conduct the interview on Skype, and you can actually have a conversation, whether or not it is video or it is audio. You can use the website freeconferencecall.com to actually capture your conversation. You can use Google Hangouts or live streaming. As long as the other person has the proper equipment, you can actually have your conversation there. You can use live streaming technologies such as Facebook Live, Periscope, Blab, or Snapchat. You can also have webinars, and in some cases there is proprietary software or the standby GoToWebinar software. You can take the webinar concept and you can actually have it offline and do a seminar. Of course, you'll need to record this seminar with a video camera. And the same would be true of having a live workshop. This is where you're going to be able to gather people together in order to share their expertise, and you are going to capture that with some kind of recording device, whether or not it is an audio recording device or it is a video recording device. These are all ways for you to collaborate and to capture that collaboration on a recording device so that you will be able to use it as your authoritative content, and then to be able to change it into the kind of form that you think your audience would most desire. We're going to be discussing how to reach the collaborators or the people that you are going to be working with. And the most important thing to say is that you don't want to fully rely on email. Even if you have sent an email and you feel as if no one's getting back to you or they're not getting back to you very quickly, you do not want to rely on this sole method that you have sent an email and that you have really contacted someone. In fact, you have to assume that if this person is probably going to be an influencer, they're probably getting a lot of email, and that email is the easiest way possible for someone to contact them. So don't rely fully on email. One of the things that you can do is to send a snail mail letter. Sometimes, some individuals, you can even include a bit of bulky mail where you can include your book on the subject matter so that you can show that you are a serious player in the industry. One thing that you definitely want to do is to follow them on social media so that you know where they are, you know what they're talking about, and that they can actually see your participation. When you do this, make sure that you comment on their post, that you say something thoughtful or that you say something positive about what it is that they're doing and saying. Definitely, whether you do it now or whether you do it at the point at which you are about to interview them, you definitely want to read the things that they publish. You definitely want to see what it is that they are saying and what it is that their opinion really is about your subject matter. Buy their information products. If you can afford it, you want to make sure that you are getting the products of the people that you want to you want to collaborate with. You want to make sure, first of all, that they're going to be a good fit for your audience, but also you want to know about their perspective. And it's a good practice that if you can afford to have their products, that you want to get them. And again, this gives you insight and knowledge that other people will not have, and that other people will not go to the length of in order to talk to this influencer. Make sure that you read their books. If they are published and they have books on Amazon or they have books on Kindle, you want to make sure that you read them. And when they attend conferences and they speak at them, you want to make sure that you attend conferences. These can be great opportunities for you to meet the influencer and for you to be able to collaborate with them and actually create content on the spot. We are going to discuss the keys to collaboration or collaborative content, even if you're scared to interview. Now, the most important thing when you are creating collaborative content is to make sure that it's interesting for your listener. And you have to kind of think about this in this way. We're going to be turning some of this content, whether it's video content or audio content, into written content. And so you want this to be interesting for people as readers as well as listeners. Now, one of the keys in creating great collaborative content is to do great research. And there are a number of places that you can actually get this research. And you're going to rely, of course, primarily on Google, whether or not you use the search function or you use Google Scholar to find authoritative research. You are going to want to get the best possible information before the interview. You want to be versed and you want to understand exactly what your interviewee's point of view is or the subject is before you sit down to talk to anyone. Now, if you have access to a LexisNexis database, you can actually go into that database and find quotes, newspaper articles, all the things that the person has said that has been entered into the public conversation or the public space. The second key is going to be preparation. So you've done your research. You have everything that this person has said. You have a good idea of what they've done. And so now what you want to do is you want to prepare for the discussion. If you're moderating a discussion with several parties, you want to be prepared. If you are going to be doing an interview one-on-one, you want to be prepared. If you're going to be doing a Google Hangout and you're going to have 2 to 3 people on there, you are going to want to be prepared. And so you want to have your questions written out. You want to know exactly how you're going to lead off the interview or you're going to lead off the webinar. You want to make sure that your interviewee, though, is going to answer organically. So you don't want to give that person your questions. You don't want them to sound canned. You don't want them to sound like they're reading. You don't want them to sound like they over-prepared. You want their response to be based on their expertise. So you want to ask them the question organically, but you want to know where you're going with the content. So in other words, regardless of whether you're doing an interview, map out the direction that you want the interview to go. When you're thinking about the seminar or whatever it is, the workshop, think about how you want it to go. Think about where you want it to go, how you want it to end, and how you want the guests to participate. And of course, then there's key number 3. How do you talk to people and how do you get them to talk about the things that are going to matter to your audience? Well, you want to get your interviewee and you want to get your guests and you want to get your workshop leaders to talk about specific examples. And so you want to lead them with your questions in this manner. You want to ask them specifically, well, what happened when you said that? Or what happened when you experienced this principle in your life? Or what happened when this happened in a way that caused you to take action? So you want to get them to talk about specific examples. You want to lead them in the telling of stories about your subject matter. You can ask another question. What's an example of that? How did that happen? When you ask these questions, what you're doing with your interviewee, what you're doing with your guest is you are leading them to tell stories. And when they tell stories, they give you content in a way that's going to be interesting to the people that are going to be listening to your collaborative content. we're going to be discussing optimizing your interviews for the search engines. And obviously, you want to be able to take advantage of any traffic that the search engines are going to send you. Now, obviously, you do not want to focus just on search traffic or SEO. You want to focus on the quality of your content and the quality of your guests. However, you don't want to pass up any opportunities. Now, in this case, you're going to be well served to have a blog or website that you can post to a second time. What we mean by that is that you're going to have the place where your content is created, and you then want to be able to post that content someplace else so that you will have a place and an excuse to share it a second time on your social media accounts. Now, one of the ways that you're going to best optimize your interviews for the search engines is to promote it ahead of time. Now, you might ask, what does that have to do with the search engine? Well, typically, if you're going to promote an event is recognized by search engines in a way that is different than just a regular blog or article, and people tend to share events more than they'll share a regular article or post. And that's really the secret to optimizing your interview, treating it like an event. Now, obviously, there are going to be some other things that we're going to be discussing here in a minute, but you want to make sure that you treat it like something that is only going to happen once, and you treat it like an event. So you want to start thinking about, what do you want people to type into the search engines and find your content? So if you think about the people who are searching for an answer, or the people who have questions, or the people who have a specific problem, so you're going to think about, well, what do you want those people to type when they find your content? And you are going to use those keywords in the following manner. You're going to use them as part of the title of your content. You're going to use them in your description. Now, you don't want to do that in an unnatural way, but you do want to make sure that where you can, that you have your keyword in your description. And in some cases, you'll have the opportunity to place tags, and those tags are an indication of where you feel that people should be typing in order to find your content. So you want to use keywords and important tags. And lastly, we talked about the fact that you're going to have a blog or a website. You want to optimize two things. You want to optimize the source content. So in other words, if you have a YouTube video, you want to make sure that that YouTube video is optimized for search. In addition to that, you want to make sure that the blog post describing that video is also optimized. This will give you the maximum opportunity to be found in the search engines, again, without focusing your attention and your energy on SEO. We're going to be discussing how you should be sharing your interviews or your collaborational content in order to get the maximum effect. Now, of course, one way to share your collaborations is to make sure to ask your guests directly and your tribe to share the event ahead of time. Remember, you're treating this like an event, whether or not it's going to be an interview, whether or not it's going to be a Google Hangout, whatever it is, you want to treat it like it's going to be a happening, an event, must-see event, and you want to make sure that you tell your people to share the event or that something is coming with their social media following. Of course, you want to do the very same thing after the collaboration has been posted or after the event has already taken place. This is something that most marketers tend not to be consistent about, but if you make it part of everything that you do, you are going to see results, and you're going to see more traffic coming to your website, to your offers, and to your publications. You'll then want to make sure that you format your video or your audio or whatever it is into all the other modes. So, for example, if you have video, you want to make sure that it is repurposed or reformatted into audio and into text. If you have audio, you want to make sure that it's remade into video and text. If you have text, you want to try to make sure that it's remade into audio and video. You want to have everything covered in terms of what your audience might want to read, see, or hear. Then when you have all three, you want to make sure that you share each form over your social media accounts and in document sharing sites. This is very important because this is going to extend your reach. Now, obviously, you are going to have a difficult time doing all of these things by yourself. You do want to try to reach out to someone who can do these tasks for you. In most cases, you can find someone to outsource these tasks to, but it is vital for you to have a process that allows you to turn one piece of content into all of the forms and then to share all of those forms across all of your social media. We are going to be discussing how to use or leverage your collaborative content. Now, you are going to want to make maximum use of your interviews or your collaborative content. One of the ways that you can use your interviews is to use it as a bonus content when you are marketing affiliate products. These are great bonuses because they are unique to you and they are exclusive in terms of what you're offering as well as where and when people can get it. Another way you can use your collaborative content is to use it as giveaways. And this you will use in order to get people to opt in to your list. Once again, this is powerful because it's something that people cannot get anyplace else, and you can direct it to people to answer a specific problem based on the content that you've created. You can use your collaborative content as introductions when you're seeking engagements. One of the things that you are going to want to do is you're going to want to talk about the people that you've interviewed, talk about the people that you have had on your seminars or on your podcast or on your blog. You want to make known that you have been able to connect with other people because that opens doors for other opportunities for you when you're seeking them. You can also use them as reputation management content. Now, you might ask, what do I mean by that? When you're doing lots of collaborative content, you are going to find that search engine results are going to reflect the fact that you have podcasts, that you have videos, that you have blog posts. Many of these are going to be with other people, and it's going to have an authoritative effect, and it's going to appear in places where you might have negative content to appear. So the more that you collaborate and the more that you place your content in places where people are going to be searching, you are going to find that your reputation as a leader in your industry is going to be fairly solid. We are going to be discussing the reverse engineering process within the collaborative content method. Now, if you have chosen to build a brand using collaborative content, you're going to want to reverse engineer at least one brand or a set of products before you start creating your own product. Now, what does it mean to reverse engineer a brand, or what does it mean to reverse engineer a grouping of products? It really means looking at the products itself. Now, if you want to purchase the products of those who are going to be in your market. Really, they aren't going to be your competitors. They're probably going to be your collaborators. And so you want to take a look to see what's already in the market, what is selling, what are people already offering. It also means looking at the joint venture partners of some of the people who have already produced products. This is going to be an important part of you being able to determine how you're going to enter the market. We're going to be looking at launch statistics. And typically, if a product is launched in a marketplace like JVZoo or is launched in a marketplace like Warrior Plus, you can see launch statistics, at least in general. And it will give you some idea of what you can expect with the kind of product you're going to be launching and the marketplace and the willingness of people to buy. You're going to want to take a look at real reviews, and this is going to be a little tricky, but we are going to approach this and we're going to get a sense for what have other people found about the products have been launched. In other words, what have people been experiencing? What has been their problem? Is it a problem with the product that has been created, or is it a problem that is just unsolvable by the method that's being proposed? You're also going to look at, to the best of your ability, the traffic. Now, in some cases, the traffic is going to be as simple as lots of affiliates sent traffic to the offer when it was launched. But in other cases, you have a product that's on an ongoing basis, it's an evergreen product, and you're going to want to look at the traffic and so that you can start getting in those same lanes to get some of that same traffic and experience some of the same success. You are going to want to take a look at their funnel. In other words, you're going to want to know how many upsells there are. You're going to want to know what the upsells are. You're going to want to know what you can do in order to replicate what they're doing to achieve success without changing the nature of your product. Now, because we're using the word content, you might get the idea that the only thing that we're doing is we're creating things for people to experience on a website or for people to get free. And that is far from the case. One of the great things that we can do with our collaborative content is to create things to sell. Now, your interview and or your summit content can become an information product. You can actually turn it into something that people are going to want to buy, whether or not they were able to attend or hear your interview, or if they were unable to hear it and you've got extras in order to give them the full experience. You can actually turn that webinar content, or you can turn that summit content or interview content into membership content, where the only way that people are going to get access to the replays is if they are part of a membership. You have many marketers who are doing this and doing this effectively. One of the things that you can do is you can make it exclusive attendance content. What do we mean by exclusive attendance content? Well, if someone attends the event, they can actually experience it live, but if they want to get the recording, they'll typically have to purchase it. And so you want to make sure that those who attend can experience it, but if they want to see the replay, that you will definitely put an offer in front of them for them to pay. Now, one of the great things that you can do from your audio and your visual content is to have it transcribed. Once you have it transcribed into text, there are a number of ways that you can create paid content, one of which is to create your own book. And you can use that content. Typically, if you were to sit down and write a book, it would probably take you quite a while to do. But when you have collaborative content, you have very good, solid information that probably does require some editing, but it won't take you nearly as long as writing a book from scratch. Well, that book content can then become audiobook content and yet give your buyer another opportunity to experience the actual event, interview, or collaborative content. And of course, whenever you have things that are written, you can always turn audiobook or audio content into case studies. You can turn that transcribed content into cheat sheets and outlines. There are a number of things that you can do when you think about the three forms of content, whether it's audio, whether it's text or video. Each one can be turned into the other two forms and then made to be sold to those who want to experience the answers or the information that you were delivering. We are going to be discussing inexpensive and or easy to use collaborative content creation tools. Now, one of the things that you are going to need is you are going to need a webcam. And if your computer does not have a webcam built in, a great webcam to get is the Logitech 930E. The reason that it's a good webcam is because it shoots in high definition or 1080 and operates as part of your computer. It is a great webcam, and of course, you can get a lesser model, or if this is something that you can't find a great price on, you want to try to find something that does similar things that this one does. Now, another thing you'll need is video editing and creation software, which you can get through Camtasia, and you can get it either through the Mac or PC. You can actually capture video using your mobile device. You're looking at an iPhone here. The same would be true if you purchased an Android device or some smartphone that takes good images and good video. Finally, you need good audio creation tools And you can spend a lot for these tools, but we're going to show you the Plantronics headset, which is inexpensive relative to some high performance mics and creates a great sound. In conclusion, one of the fastest ways to create authoritative content is to borrow the authority of others, and that's really what we're doing when we are creating collaborative content. You can do this when you're interviewing others and giving them a platform to express themselves or to get more exposure to their business or their presence. And we've talked about the fact that you want to be creative in the ways that you get and create collaborative content. That you can do it by doing interviews and podcasts. That you can have summits, online and offline, where you talk about a specific topic for a short period of time. We talked about the fact that there's much that you can do offline, that you can do workshops, and as we said, summits, or you can even do some of your interviews offline if you choose terrestrial radio. We can do events and special series where we talk about special events or special topics, and we have a limited number of people involved for the discussion. We can do online special events where we have a limited duration, and we also have specific experts that we know that we can gather together in order to touch on a subject that is of massive concern to your community. So in this case, you want to think about what's recent in the news and what appears to be a crisis. You can put together a special event that will address this subject. Or where we have experts that are willing to go on record as to what the future might be in your industry or in your niche. In other words, think creatively about the ways in which you can create collaborative content. While interviews and podcasts are very good, they tend to be one-dimensional. When you start to think in other forms, you will find that people will be more apt to want to participate, and you'll find that users or your audience will be more likely to attend.